Of course, the news, Denny, late today, that Brad Arthur gets summons to a meeting, and the next thing you know, he's walking out the door, no longer coach of Parramatta.
James, it was a 3 o'clock meeting called by the Parramatta officials. They said to Brad, can you come into the office? He was there by 4 p.m. He was out by 4:10 p.m, no longer the Parramatta coach. In that 10 minutes time, I'd imagine he would have asked why, but he'd really know why. Their results haven't been quite up to scratch for the last 18 months, and there's been 3 particularly bad losses this year. And I guess the timing of it, everybody wants to know why Brad Arthur is gone now. Well, in the background, Parramatta had been making a secret play for Wayne Bennett. For the last 3 weeks, they were trying to convince Wayne Bennett to backflip out of the South Sydney deal that he is yet to actually sign, but he's agreed to. So they figured they've missed that secret opportunity to appoint a new coach. The results aren't improving. They may as well move on now. Now, Wayne Bennett was talked to a number of times, and his reason for not going to Parramatta was that he feels he has unfinished business at South Sydney. He also feels that he knows the club and knows the players and wants the opportunity to work with the Rabbits again. He has yet to put pen to paper, but he has agreed to coach the Rabbitohs.
So you think there's no way Wayne will go to Parramatta? Because this is a very Wayne Bennett thing to do. Well, sneak out like at the very last minute, go to a club that no one even thought about.
I get what you're saying, Gal. It does feel a little bit like a Wayne Bennett manoeuvre, doesn't it? But the fact that he'd been talking to Parramatta, he asked for it to remain secret. And I broke the story today that he'd in fact been talking to them for 3 weeks, but he said no. So he's shut the door on them. And I think that South Sydney are confident that he will be their coach, maybe by the end of this week.
Gus, is it the right call? Is it the right time?
Look, only people within the club will know if that's 100% the right decision to make. I found it strange because we're on the verge of Mitchell Moses coming back. I've been saying for a couple of months things will turn around when they get their halfback. It's a funny thing with this competition. There are some teams when their main man is down, they can't score a try, let alone win a game. And that's been the case since Mitchell Moses has been out. And I thought they might have given him time once Moses come back to see if there was any improvement. But that was a poor result on the weekend. I've seen promise in a few of their performances of late, but on the weekend, I can imagine that left a sour taste in officials' mouths, and that's why they've made the decision when they do. I don't know how this decision is going to fix it in the short term. It won't fix it in the short term, that's for sure. They do get Mitchell Moses back, but Parramatta's got some thinking ahead of their next decision for a head coach and the direction of the club, I guess.
James, can I say how blindsided Brad Arthur was? I texted him at 9:09 this morning just to check how he was going, because it was obviously a tough loss and tough weekend. And he said, I'm all good, mate. I've been here before. We will dig our way out like we have done in the past. And what is also really significant, which speaks to the man that Brad Arthur is and which he deserves credit for, because I asked him about Mitchell Moses as well, and will he play? And he said, well, look, Mitch probably won't play, mate. Don't want to be selfish and risk him, not fair on him, although he's desperate to try and play. Now, that says a lot about Brad Arthur, his career on the line, yet he's thinking about not wanting to be selfish by risking playing Mitchell Moses. So to me, that says Brad Arthur would be a good coach for another club, because he's not a selfish bloke, he's a hard worker, and he has had some success at Parramatta as well.
If not Wayne Bennett, then who? Who are the contenders? Well,
right now, Trent Barrett's going to be the interim coach, and I'd imagine that Trent Barrett would have aspirations of coaching again. He was at the Bulldogs. He wasn't great at the Bulldogs. He was at Manly, wasn't great at Manly. Whether he's only going to be an assistant coach from now on, who knows? Look, the one that is floating around, and Parramatta wouldn't give me any names, you look at the New South Wales coach, Michael Maguire. He's desperate to coach first grade again. You'd imagine that he'd be eyeing off all of this sort of action. There's off-contract coaches in England. I mean, Gus would have an idea of good coaches around. Gal, you'd know. I mean, there's Josh Hannay at Cronulla, who's a very good coach, but I don't know whether he's the person to take over at somewhere like Parramatta. I'm just tossing names up at the moment because there's not a clear, obvious contender that's off contract.
Yeah, even Madge signed a multi-year deal with the Blues. He can't coach the club side in Origin.
Well, not this year.
Yeah, well, can he do it in the future?
Well, Gal, you know what contracts are like these days.
Yeah, but he's not supposed to.
Denny, what would his preference be?
I can't speak for Madge, but I do know that he has first grade coaching in his blood. He loves the day-to-day of it. He loves the stress. He loves the the challenge of it all. And I'm not saying he's got the job by any stretch, but I mean he's just a name that pops up. I mean there are coaches in England as well. There are young coaches coming through, but that's what makes their chase for Bennett interesting, and the fact that they went for him because he's probably the best option around.
Last one on this, no simple answer though, is there for them now, Gus?
No, there isn't. The pool's not very, very big, particularly looking for experienced, successful coaches. They've all got jobs. That's why they've got jobs, because they're experienced and they're successful. So you've either got to take a gamble on a rookie, or you've got to have someone who's done it before and failed and looking for a second or third opportunity. The pool's not great, and that's why I look at Brad. Brad Arthur will get a job somewhere else. He will get a job somewhere else for sure. But we've regurgitated a number of coaches over the last few years when clubs have been looking for head coaches. They've gone out and got assistant coaches from other clubs that have been untried as head coaches. It's not easy.